prototyping. So who will tell me what is a prototype?
It's a representation of, if a model of your work, basically that depicts the functionality which was expected from the final product, but it is like dependent on whether the customer agrees or approves it or not. So,
okay. Anyone else who wants to contribute? Prototype. See, prototype.
Getting like a model of product, like a model of the process, the one we are going to do it.
Yes. That's correct. It's a working model, or it's a kind of a sketch. So prototype is either you can call it a working model. So you can call it a working model, or it is the same thing as a sketch. So prototype is not a functional product. Prototyping is a planning technique. It's not an executional technique. The sketch represents how the system would look like. And prototyping is more of a design or UI UX perspective and less of a functional, like it's not functional at all. It's like just representation of your, like I said, prototyping, storyboarding, these are requirement representation techniques. Whatever you have understood, you just represent that. You just represent your understanding and connectivity of those requirements via these mechanisms. Sketch or wireframe. Wireframe is also right. At times in IT software field, it's also termed as mockup. So these are all prototypes. Neither wireframe nor mockups nor sketch is functional. A sketch is a sketch. For instance, in IT technology domain, for the applications, for the mobile, for the different systems, you create a like low fidelity wireframes. At times you create a high fidelity wireframes. At times you create mockups which do have the link, but those links just gives you a flavor of how the system would work when the actual implementation is done. It's like just a static representation, and there's no real data behind the picture. There's no real functioning coding behind the picture. That is exactly what the prototyping is. How prototyping helps you? Prototyping gives you a visual, illustrative mechanism of your understanding of the requirement to the customer or end user, so that they sign it off. That yes, this is how the representation of our requirements looks like in the form of forms or images or links or connectivity, or how we want to represent it. And later on, it saves you with surprises, especially in predictive mindset. Prototyping helps you a lot, where the chances of failure based on the customer rejection is high. So prototyping, wherever applies, can be very helpful, and it's a mechanism of risk mitigation. It's a strategy of risk mitigation. Right? Prototyping is not functional. Please keep that in mind. Prototyping is not at all MVC. It's not even POC, proof of concept, or POC. It's not POC. Now, anybody would like to make a comment on what is MVC and why prototype is not MVC? Sorry, not MVC, it's MVP, minimum viable product. MVP is minimum viable product. Anybody would like to comment on what is minimum viable product and why prototype is not minimum viable product?
Because as you have said yourself, it's not a functioning model. So it has nothing of functionality in there. Minimum viable product would be that it at least functions the which makes a bare minimum product like has the must have requirements in there.
Anyone else?
Exactly as I think Daisy has said, as it is not the functioning thing, it is just a sketch that just shows us the basic it's a model what is going to be developed in the future. So it has nothing functional that can be shown or which is acceptable in the market or put up or uh, put it in the market or given to the end user to use it. So it's just a sketch.
That's correct. So prototype is like just a design. It doesn't have any functionality at all. It can have a very bare minimum functionality, which is like just for the initial usability of or to make a look and feel aspect of it, but it's not a full functionality at all, and it's not even more than 5 to 10% of the functionality at all. MVP is not a full-fledged product, but whichever part of the product is going to be launched in the market, that much part is functional. For instance, I gave you an example in our case, when area of spot use case was being discussed, we launched the PMP and ACP and different modules of the system, one after the another after certain months. So that is the concept of MVP. So the launch of PMP was an MVP. The launch of ACP later on was an MVP. The launch of PGMP was an MVP, and every course was launched the same way. So it was a part, like for you, maybe it's like all of it because you are only the PMP user on that simulator, but there's a lot more to simulator than PMP. So PMP is only a part of the simulator, a major part of the simulator, but it's a part of it. It's not full-fledged simulator. So when the PMP was launching, the other parts of the module, the other modules or the other parts of the system were under progress, and some of them were not even started. But whichever part was launching, which is PMP, it was functional till the point we wanted it to be launched to make a logical sense out of it. It was functional, fully functional for PMP. All videos, all the user interface, the different the different selling features which were decided. All of that was ready in the product for PMP. So that is a MVP. POC is a proof of concept. It's like an initial idea which may be accepted and which may be rejected. It's like it can be a study, a market study, it can be a feasibility study, it can be a research, it can be maybe an initial functional level, R&D. So it's not more. It's not even design. It doesn't have any design. It's like just some kind of study based on which an idea. You can consider that as part of business case. Based on this POC, the idea of that project or the viability of that project is going to be approved or rejected. So POC doesn't even have design. It doesn't have like those fascinating elements which attracts your end users. It's for the team specifically. It's for the internal purposes specifically. So it's not prototype. Whichever part of the POC, so whatever you are doing with POC, it's first of all, it's not design related, and it's not even functional. It's like just an idea which is under discussion, that it makes sense or not. So prototype, MVP, and POC, they are very different, and at times prototype and MVP is very much taken together. At times when you are launching, when you are incrementally delivering, or you are launching some part of your product, it's termed as prototype. Not at all. It's not prototype. Please don't call it prototype. prototype is a very different.